Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as David Ornstein drops a bomber in relation to Manchester United's transfer pursuit. It's a bit of a shock, it's a Premier League striker, it's Liam Delap. Would you want him at Manchester United or do you think he's crap? We'll also be talking about Rasmus, some interesting feedback from the manager, Amorim. He also spoke about Bruno and Mazraoui. I mean, he was very glowing about Bruno, which I think is going to be a cracking topic for us to discuss this morning as well. Also spoke about, well, we saw it, didn't we? Wasn't particularly happy with Martinez. We'll talk about that as well. As we respond to United's very good win last night and the progress under Amorim, but also look ahead to... There are issues. There's going to be issues, and we've got Everton on Sunday as well. So lots to get into on the show. We don't want Delap, says Morden Man. Well, I'm going to start a poll on that. Would you sign Delap? Simple as that. Get your vote in. If you're not watching live, let me know. Also, it's Black Friday today, so there are loads of deals that you can do. We are no different. You can get a discount across all our Christmas jumpers. I'll tell you about that in a moment. Links in the video description if you want to get there quick. But effectively, you can get discounted Christmas jumpers. We'll talk about that as well. But let's talk first of all about Delap and Manchester United. So this is from David Ornstein. Obviously, as we know, Ornstein and Romano across the summer were absolutely the two that nailed it all the time with the early news on who United were looking at and who United ended up signing. Obviously, very good sources around Manchester United. This is from David Ornstein this morning. Liam Delap only joined Ipswich in July, but leading clubs already looking at him for the summer. If his form continues, Ipswich expect to will maybe lose the 21-year-old amid Big Six interest. Chelsea and Manchester United tracking. Manchester City can buy back, plus latest on other clubs looking at him as well. So, look, you know what? I'll just be honest on this one. I'm not enamoured by this. For me, it would be a no. And some of it's pure ignorance because it probably signs for United in the summer and ends up being a legend of the club. But I just don't feel it at all. Obviously, formerly of Manchester City, that's not necessarily a problem. He's got a contract till 2029, so he'll be expensive. He's a Premier League striker, so he'll be expensive. He is 21, so again, another younger striker, and he can put himself about a bit. And he's, I think he's got the potential to be a really, really, really exciting striker, but. I just don't massively feel it, if I'm being honest. I don't. But look, that doesn't mean he's not a good proposition. I think he probably falls into the category of what Manchester United are looking to do in bringing players in that can be superstars for the next few years. But there's just something about it that just doesn't feel right. And I think it's a combination of the Man City thing is relatively minor, but do I want to get into a challenge with Man City for a player that they had that have got a buyback? No. I think the price will be very restrictive. I mean, I think you're talking with a contract that's got 5 years on it, English striker, scoring goals in the Premier League, you're going north of 50 million. And then you're into Gyökeres territory. So I'm sort of like, what Man United need is an experienced striker to work alongside Rasmus, who obviously I think is going to be fantastic, but could do with. I think if we had Gyökeres at the moment, it would be better for Rasmus. I think sometimes in the last 20 minutes of a game, you look at the bench and you go, well, Rashford can't do it, Xerxes can't do it. And I think that people are going to get injured, people are going to get tired. We definitely do need another striker. And I don't know that a 21-year-old or a 20-year-old is the right way for Man United to go. I think we actually need somebody that... It's almost unfair on Rasmus if we go and get another 21-year-old because where's he going to learn from? I think we need somebody who's got a little bit more experience. So, look, you cannot deny that this is coming in from David Ornstein and therefore you would expect it to be true. I would also say that Manchester United would be foolish not to be looking at a player like this. I also think Gyökeres is almost too obvious. I've said this before. Will definitely be linked to him. Will definitely be linked to him until he goes somewhere in the summer. But it doesn't mean we're going to get him. And if we don't get him, you've got to go for something else as well. So I think that Delap is interesting. If we sign him, I'll back it. But it's a bit like Mason Mount. I didn't really understand what that was all about. He's here now. Hopefully he's going to be good. I'm certainly not saying no, don't do it. But I think it's price restrictive for me. So for me, it would be a no. Interestingly enough, 58% of you are saying no as well. Daniel Sturtridge says, I was working last night. Quick talk through, please. We'll do that in a minute. Use the academy strikers instead of buying another 20-year-old, says Dan O'Connell. Well, look, we're cooking this morning. It's Friday morning. We've got a match on Sunday. We've won last night. There's another press conference coming in at lunchtime. Probably got career mode later on this afternoon. Friday night show, weekend of football. This is what it can feel like when you just... I'm not saying United are back. I'm not saying United are anywhere near back. I mean, we've got some difficult games to come. We're still in the bottom half of the Premier League. But what I like about this morning, and I sense it of the community as well, is that there is some optimism, which actually we haven't had for a very long time. So there are things that I take away from last night. I liked some of the things that Amorim said. I liked some of the things I saw as well. And I think one of the battles we've got is to shut up the morons. And what I mean by morons is the people who just don't understand what Man United are doing or what football's actually all about. I mean, I feel like we're in an echo chamber because in this particular community, some of us, not all of us, I respect this community, even if I don't disagree. I might disagree with Robert McCormack. I might disagree with Ray. I might disagree with Marvin AM. I might disagree with Man United on top. We know those things happen, but even if I disagree, if it's a good point, I'll almost go, well, I disagree with you, but you do make a valid point. And like even Red Army, when he talks about Maguire being back in the team, I actually think he will get a chance in the team. So it's not always about disagreement. But it's the nonsense I read. I mean, I was talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and the thing is, I'm not bothered. If I believe in something, I don't care if it's the wrong time to say it, I still say it. I was reading an article from Pratthurst a couple of weeks ago where he was just dismissing Xerxes and Rasmus as not being good enough. And I thought, the list of articles you've written analysing the actual game that you clearly have no concept of is hilarious. And you're not the only one. There's people who go to college, get a bloody blue tick and think they can analyse football. My granddad never went to university. He grew up with football all his bloody life. What he didn't know about football, it wasn't worth knowing. So I don't need some blue tick journalist telling me that Xerxes and Rasmus aren't good enough to score goals for Manchester United when we don't give them any fucking service. And I think what last night did, and I know loads of people were losing their shit about Robbie Savage saying we were playing a 4-4-2 or whatever. I mean, look, this is what I mean. I've played the game doesn't mean knowledge. And I think fans who consume football like you do and I do can see what Man United are trying to do under Amorim and know what we've brought in from Amorim. But what I loved about last night was 2 chances, 2 goals. And if anything, I could be critical. 2 chances for a striker is actually not it's still not enough. It isn't. It's not enough. And I think it isn't actually enough. 2 chances, 2 goals. But that's the point I've always made about Rasmus specifically, is that if you give him chances, his conversion rate is better than Erling Haaland this season. And Erling Haaland's the best striker in the world for me. It's better than Ollie Watkins. And it was last season. His conversion rate is consistent. His conversion rate is really good. And until we get to a point where he's missing loads of sitters, which he might, I don't think you can judge him. What I liked was the feedback that Amorim gave, where he basically said this about Rasmus. He said, he basically said, I'll read what he said because I don't want to get it wrong. He said that there's a lot to improve. I feel in the hold-up play takes too many touches, but he did a great job and he brought physicality and he worked really hard as well. I like that. I like that because we've got a manager that can be quite critical, but I also want him to be critical when we do well. I'm certainly like that myself. Success is great, but it's what's next. And, Roy Keane was the embodiment of that. You win the treble, it's what's next. And that's what you're there to do as a footballer. You're never there to rest on your laurels. And we as United fans never did as well. We win the league, why didn't we win the Champions League? We win the Champions League and the league, why didn't we win the FA Cup? We win all 3, let's do it again. That's what we need to get back to. I agree with Amorim about Rasmus. There is a lot to learn. This is one of the big things that I defend him and Garnacho and Mainu and even Xerxes on, is that they are still young with a lot to learn. They're not the finished article. And you do get these morons making their mind up. I mean, he's 21. Harry Kane at 21 wasn't the Harry Kane he is now. Rasmus has got a better conversion rate than Harry Kane this season. But that's mainly because he's not getting many bloody chances. I want to see if he can keep that conversion rate if we give him 4 or 5 chances a game. Or is he going to score 4 or 5 goals? This is what I want to see. And I think that the analysis of Amorim is spot on. There is a lot to learn with Rasmus. He's not the complete article. Neither is Garnacho. I agree that when the ball goes into Rasmus, sometimes he does take too many touches. He's got the physicality, he's got the work rate. I think sometimes it's one touch pass, but sometimes he's working to get it under control and then he lays it off. And sometimes it works, and sometimes he loses possession. That's something that Amorim will work on, and that means he can make him better. There's ways that we can make lots of our players better, but what we struggle with, and I hope more people can understand it, because I think a lot of you do understand it, is that we get commentators on Manchester United whose football knowledge is absolutely abysmal. And as I said, I think when you get these journalists writing people like Rasmus off when he's not getting any service, how can you say a striker's, he's not a good enough striker for Man United when he's not getting service? And it's been going on for years. It was years. I dread to think how many goals Ronaldo, Cavani, Anthony Martial could have scored for Manchester United if we'd given them service. They live on scraps. Rasmus got 2 goals last night on scraps. Cavani got a hat-trick against Southampton on scraps. Not since the days of Van Persie have we actually provided chances for our striker, and I think this is something that hopefully is going to change massively, because I look at that game last night and the wasted chances from certainly Bruno, Garnacho, Rashford. We could have had another 2 goals. 3-2 should have been 5-2. So the positive for me last night was that we were creating more chances. But we definitely need to bring another striker in. And a lot of people still talking about Liam Delap. We need to bring another striker in. I don't believe Rashford can do that role other than a stopgap. I mean, if Rasmus got injured tomorrow for a month, I would hope that Rashford can step in and do a job. But that's the problem, isn't it? We've got a developing young striker who, if he gets injured or goes through a little bit of a bad patch, who's going to lead the line? And that's why we do need another striker. That's not derogatory to Rasmus. That's not derogatory to what Amorim's building. We just need another striker because we don't have it. So who we go for is going to be very interesting. I still like the Gyökeres one, but then again, for me, it just feels too obvious. It's almost like, Christmas Day and everyone's been hinting you're going to get that nice coat, and you're there on Christmas Eve going, it's too obvious I'm going to get that coat. Everyone's sort of hinting at it. So I just think, Obi Martin coming through would be interesting as well, Jay. Joe Humphrey says, I've just bought the Amorim Christmas jumper. Love the show. Excited for the future. Thank you for always being my favourite channel to watch. Well, thank you very much, Joe. You're an absolute legend. I will just drop it into the chat now, actually. Just to let you know, Black Friday weekend starts today. You can get 20% discount on everything on our website, starting tonight at midnight until Monday evening. When you're pushing on, this is an automatic 20%. It will be taken off when you check out. So there is no code. It's just automatic for the weekend. United Stand, Shopify, everything on there. 20% off. So if you want to get mugs or another Christmas jumper or whatever, get yourself over there now, while stocks last, of course, because I don't know how many knitted jumpers there are left now. Anyway, do you think Luke Shaw had a falling out with Ten Hag and it was kept under wraps on the back of the drama with Sancho? Bit of conspiracy theory, I know. This is out and about with Job. I can only speculate here. I have heard stuff about that, but it's speculation, it's conspiracy. I've not heard anything. Look, honestly, I don't think that did happen. I think Luke Shaw is injury prone, and I think he'll be injured again very, very soon. If he stayed fit till the end of the season, I might revisit that conspiracy theory. But yeah, I don't know. Anthony can do better, but I was reasonably happy, says Keel. I thought he was crap, but each to their own. Second game in already. I see a style of play. Credit to Amorim, says Vinny. Thank you very much for that as well. Well, this is what Amorim had to say about a few other bits as well. He basically said that, well, there was something I noticed actually before. I saw on the touchline he was having a big go at Martinez on the Malacia goal. And I think a lot of people picked up on it as well. That goal is on Malacia, but Martinez was sort of AWOL, and you could tell that Amorim wasn't happy about it. That goal for me is completely on Malacia, but On the other hand, you'd look at it and go, this is a guy that's not played football for 18 months. If I'm the left-sided centre-back, I need to be covering that space. And I think the way, looking at it from Amorim's point of view, I think what happened there is that in his system, with those three centre-backs, he doesn't expect a scenario where the wide player gets beaten for pace and they're through on goal. That is a learning curve. Martinez is also coming back from a bit of time out as well. I think positionally he was in a bad position. So I think these things happening and still winning the game, I still see as a positive. And I think Amorim in the heat of the moment will highlight the moment, but in the fullness of time, reflecting on it, he'd probably rather that happen in a game that we won anyway than 0-0 in the last 10 minutes at the Emirates. So I think Martinez will pick up on that and learn from that. He was out of position. I think it was Delap who got closer and got across better than Martinez did. Mayan says our centre-backs lack pace. They do on that left-hand side yesterday. I mean, Martinez has never been about pace, and Malacia certainly isn't about pace at the moment. Delap, I think, is reasonable pace. Yoro, we hope, will be quick. Mazraoui is reasonable pace as well. I think if Luke Shaw could get back fit, he's reasonable pace. But you're right, the left-hand side lacks pace. Right-hand side, I think we're fine. But left-hand side does lack pace, which is probably why we're looking for a left-sided defender who I'm pretty sure will have a level of pace as well. So right-hand side, Delap, Yoro, Mazraoui, I think we're okay. Left-hand side, yeah, I think with the Luke Shaw injury problems, we are probably lacking a bit of recovery pace, which in that system I do think you need. And I know the days of playing FIFA career mode, you'd go and buy everybody who's quick because it helps you out. But I genuinely think in the system that we're playing with those three centre-backs and the high line, you're not going to want to have transitions and be sprinting from the halfway line down that left-hand side with somebody who is attacking with pace. So yeah, it's like Anthony says, there's going to be a lot of 1v1s in this, and yeah, you are going to need recovery pace. As I said, I think Yoro and Delap I'm happy with. Martinez is reasonable pace, but not super quick, and obviously Maguire, Evans, and Lindelof ain't going to be quick enough. He spoke about He spoke about Mazraoui. I'm not going to ever get fed up of doing this because I just think he's not Manchester United signing of the season. He's the Premier League signing of the season. His consistency is something I think we can claim this as a fan base. And I think when Amorim says what he said, we can go, yeah, we knew what we were on about. Because I think sometimes a manager says something and you go, that's insightful. I really like that. This manager knows what he's on about. But I think a lot of the things that Amorim is saying is reflective of what you've been saying for weeks or months. And that's even better. I mean, it's nice when a manager says something out there and you go, oh, I love that. You know, like Ranić used to and Amorim already has. But it is very rewarding when you hear a manager say something you've been talking about for weeks or months. And we have seen that, like what he said after the Ipswich game about Rashford's lack of strength and ability to hold the ball up. We know that because we've watched United and we've watched Rashford up front. It's not his best position. We've seen other things that he's said about, not keeping possession, not creating enough chances, which we've obviously spoken about. But with Mazraoui, I remember talking about this 2 months ago. Even after watching him play 3 or 4 games, there was this sort of intake of breath from the United fan base about why had Bayern let him go? He is so consistent. And I think the thing about Mazraoui is, and look, this is what Amorim had to say, he is our future. He always seems fresh. Even if we have to be careful with all the matches, he's the kind of player we need. And he is our future. He is the kind of player we need, is exactly what we're talking about. We don't win titles. We don't get near titles. We don't qualify for the Champions League every year. Mazraoui is not the best player in Europe. He's not going to win the Ballon d'Or. You put Mazraoui in a Man City side when they're good, or a Real Madrid side, he might not get in. Because that's the bar, isn't it? Consistently winning year after year after year. But what Mazraoui is a player we haven't had. What Mazraoui is a player that would be fighting for a place in a Real Madrid team or a Man City team. In fact, I'd probably start him in both, to be honest. And that's what he is. He is a top echelon player. He is a player that plays in teams that are winning titles. And that's why he stands out so much. Because what he is good every game. And we've spoken about this before. Would you rather have a 10 out of 10 player who does it once or twice a month? Or would you rather have a 7 out of 10 player who does it every week for a full season? And I tell you what, where we are as a football club, we don't need another 10 out of 10 player every once or twice a month. We need 7 or 8, 7 out of 10s every bloody week. Because at Manchester United, the consistent theme is we have a lot of players who play average or below every single game. Mazraoui stands out because he does everything well, as Sufyan says, but he does it every week. It's always a 7 out of 10. And so, 6 is average, 7 is good. Sometimes it's an 8, very good. Sometimes it's a 9, excellent. But it's never drops below a 7. And that is the brilliance of Mazraoui. It's so simple. It's that word we talk about, but nobody actually really listens to. Consistency. People go, United just aren't consistent enough. We need to be more consistent. Well, there is that. That is it. We're not chasing the promised land anymore. It's not some hidden pot of gold at the bottom of a rainbow that might not exist. Mazraoui is the future, like Amrim says. Mazraoui represents what we've been missing for years. That's it. You literally parade him round Carrington going, there he is, this is it, this is what you've got to do. Mazraoui, what you gonna do? That's what he is. That's what we need from every player, and we've got it. We're not looking at Arsenal or Liverpool or Man City. There he is. That's what we want. That every week. And it's real. Look. Touch him on his arm. This is a real player. And he's wearing a Man United shirt. And he does it every week. And that's what we want. And that's what Amrin means about the future. Those players, we need about 6 or 7 of those every game. Ideally, you want 10, 11. But 6 or 7 every game, giving 7 out of 10, we will fly up that league. Absolutely fly up the league. Chucky, thanks for your super chat. Stop using age as an excuse. Look at Yamal at 17, says Zune. I don't know what your point is, mate, but age, of course, is an excuse. Mate, I think what you're probably trying to get at is that I'll call you out. I get called out every day. I know who you are. I see you. I see you. I see you in the chat. I see you on social media. You've still not moved past the bitter toxicity that has gripped you in the Ten Hag era, and you can't switch it off. It's burning away inside you. Toxic. And I don't know what feeds it. Maybe it's other content creators. Maybe it's journalists. Maybe it's just inside you. But toxicity was never going to go away from our fan base, and it's still there. And what's happened is Ten Hag's been sacked, and like Voldemort at the end of Philosopher's Stone, when the Professor Quirrell dies, his soul latches onto something else. And that's exactly what has happened with Ten Hag's sacking. We hoped the toxicity would just disappear and everyone would put a smile on their face and be optimistic. But unfortunately, that minority percentage have took that toxicity from Ten Hag and latched it on to something else. And whether that's Garnacho or Rasmus or Bruno or whatever, it is still there. They're not all smiling when they're writing their articles. They're not all smiling when they're doing their videos. There is still that there. They can't deal with optimism. They can't deal with, let's hope Man United are going to be back. There's got to be some negativity. Your comment about Yamal and it not being an excuse for age, mate, Yamal is probably going to be generational. Most 17-year-olds are not Yamal. Most 21-year-olds are not Ronaldo or Messi. You're looking at 24. That's where you're looking at. That's the age across the ages of where you really define what a player's going to be. 24. 23, 24. That's where you go, we've got something here. Look at Harry Kane. 21, you would never have thought it. 23, 24, he's on the pathway. You will get exceptions to the rule. We've had them at this football club ourselves with Wayne Rooney, with Cristiano Ronaldo. But I'm telling you now, if you think 20-year-olds deserve toxicity and slating, then I think you're at the wrong club. I mean, I genuinely do think you're at the wrong club. Or you haven't learnt about Manchester United. We have always had a young player on our bench since the 1930s. We've had the Busby Babes. We've had the class of 92. We've had George Best. We've had youth coming through our team for decades. It's what we do. And you're gonna just create toxicity in our fan base if you're gonna slag off young players, because it's just not what a lot of United fans want to hear, because it's not about what we are. And if they're not good enough, they'll get moved on. But if the manager thinks they're good enough and he's giving them game time, why would you not nurture them? Especially when it's a manager that you like. When it was Ten Hag and you hated him, okay, you might go, why is he not picking Ahmad? But this is Amorim. I think we've got to get behind it. Mazraoui is a player that I trust in every situation he is in. This is something that I'd love to see in more players. Consistency in performance is what makes separate good teams from the greats, as Patrick Lynch. Look, Mazraoui is the future, according to Amorim. I believe that. I think you believe that. And his consistency is incredible. And the bottom line is, when we're losing 2-1 yesterday, and countless players are wasting the ball or wasting opportunities or not putting a cross in the box, what happens? Mazraoui wins the ball back in the middle of the pitch, takes somebody on, gets himself a wide angle, whips it in, and Rasmus scores a goal. It's quick, it's efficient, it's class. It's not pissing about. It's, I know how to play this game. I'm not slowing down. And he doesn't slow down. It's like, I know what I'm doing. This game works better when you play it quickly, because as a defender, I know it's harder to defend a ball when things move quickly. I'm not going to take my time, look in the middle and put a postage stamp on the cross. I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to take this player on. I'm going to whip the cross into the danger area. And that's going to give Rasmus a little bit of time. And he scored. And that's what Mazraoui does. And I think he's absolutely fantastic. And as I said, he's not just Man United signing of the season. Tell me a Premier League signing better than him. He's got the lot. His price, his consistency. I don't think there's a better Premier League signing this summer. And we're 13th in the league, aren't we? So I think it's fantastic. Garnacho is taking after Rashford. Useless player, says Zun. Mate, why don't you just jog on? Like, I seriously, I don't normally really want people to leave the community, but I just don't, I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in the slagging of Rashford, and I'm not interested in the slagging of Garnacho. I don't think you're a United fan. I think you're a useless United fan. Fuck off. Seriously, I do mean that. I just don't get what you're talking about. Amorim's the manager, and he's picking Garnacho. And you're there. You think you're slagging Garnacho off. You're actually slagging the manager off. What happened to 2 weeks ago backing the manager? If he wants to pick Rashford up front, then you've got to back it. You might not think it's the right thing to do, but you've got to back it. And if he's picking Garnacho in behind the striker because he thinks it's the right thing to do, who the fuck are you to start going useless player? Who are you? You're just negative. You're just toxic negativity, and I wish you'd fuck off. I really do, because you will be the people that grow your numbers over the next 18 months, and we end up having to sack another manager. We're in game 2. That's where we are. Game 2. Got a fucking cat yowling again. Fuck it, I'll tell you what. I don't want the Cat Protection League on me, but this fucking cat, since we've moved into this house, is worse than that Zun in the live chat. Where is it? I can hear it bloody yowling again. Haunted me. Oh, I can't put up with this. We're only 32 minutes into the show. He was outside. He was in the bloody living room. How can you be in my room? Where are you? Oh, God. We want to see the cat. Kathy, all I can hear is meow, meow, meow. And it's impossible because there's nowhere it can be bloody in this house. Absolute twat cat. It really is. Gets on my fucking tits. 2 days ago, it goes in behind the oven under the bloody works. I can hear him again. Oh my God, it's winding me up. It's absolutely destroying me. I hope you lot can't hear it. It's destroying me mentally. I'm trying to do a morning show and all I can hear is meow, Yeah, you know what it is? It's cold outside, and the fat, greedy git wants feeding. And he is fat. He's a beast. He's been to the vet, and they've said he's a beast, so I can say it. Right, I'm going to have to get on with this prat cat. The louder I talk, the less I hear it. Decision, 99 Christmas jumper is the best Christmas jumper I've owned. Cheers, Goldbridge, says Gory. I'm losing my shit here. Look, there we go. Let's just have a bit of R&R. I don't know how many of these there are left, but you can probably get 20% off these, I think, on the website. If there are any left, knitted jumpers, absolutely fantastic. And we've got loads of printed ones like this, 20% off. Garnacho is one of the top young players in the world, and we are lucky to have him. Get behind him and he'll come good, says Azor. Look, I don't care if somebody thinks that Garnacho isn't good enough to play for Manchester United. That's not my point. I don't care about that. I don't think people have the intelligence sometimes to realise that I'm not telling you to get behind Rasmus, get behind Garnacho, get behind Mainu. I'm not telling you that because the brilliant thing about football is that I don't believe that Gary Neville or Robbie Savage have the monopoly on good football opinions. I think they have good football opinions. I think they have horrible opinions. So do I, so do you. What I'm saying is that you might not think Garnacho's good enough, but I think he will be, because that's the decision I've made, and I've never seen anything that makes me think he won't be that. I think he's ridiculously inconsistent in the final third, but I think at 20 years of age, with good coaching, he'll get better and better and better. What I don't like, and I think it annoys a lot of United fans, is that we have this element in our fan base that even with Ten Hag, instead of he's not good enough for this, this and this, it's get out of our football club, you bold fraud, or I want to punch you in the face. And that is just ridiculous to me. And then, you know, with Garnacho, he's fucking useless. Get him out of our fucking club. Who are you hearing that from? Somebody's going meow in the chat. That's very good, actually. Who are you hearing that from? I think, and why are you doing that? Because that, to me, I don't mind if you don't like Garnacho. I don't mind if you don't think he's good enough. I bet he doesn't mind if you don't think he's good enough. But it's the toxic element of it. It's he's a prick. It's that, you know, it's this sort of stuff. You're meant to be a Man United fan. So if you're a Man United fan, how can you hate your players? That's what I mean. I don't hate any player of any club, even if they play for Liverpool, I don't hate them. So I'm certainly not going to hate a player that's at Manchester United. And I think that's the thing that I find frustrating, is that this toxic legacy of what I hoped would happen after Ten Hag is that it would disappear. But life teaches you it doesn't. Angry people don't suddenly become happy because one thing changes. Fundamentally, they're still angry. And also, toxicity still sells, doesn't it? So some people will still sell it because they'll still be living in the world of I told you so. For some reason, they will want 2 or 3 United players to fail so they can tell everybody they told themselves so. And that is where you've got lost. Because actually, I told you so shouldn't... The only thing that you should be living, I believe, as a fan of Liverpool or Man United or Arsenal is I want Arsenal or I want Liverpool or I want Man United to win. I told you so is irrelevant. You're not the CEO, you're not the manager. Unless you're Ruben Amorim, I told you so doesn't actually matter. Anyway, I wanted to talk about what he had to say about Bruno Fernandes as well. I think that this was quite interesting what he said about Bruno. He said that it was hard for Mason Mount because he's playing with his back to goal. Bruno Fernandes is better with the ball in front of him. And basically, I think Amorim was happy with Bruno last night. And I think that's quite interesting. I gave him a 6 in the player ratings, and I think some people thought he did okay, and I think some people thought he did crap. I think he actually, if somebody said you can't give him a 6, you've got to go 5 or 7, I would have gone higher rather than lower. I don't think it was a bad performance, but I thought it was an average performance, which is okay, I suppose. But it's interesting because I think that there are so many factors that are going to be massively intriguing over the coming weeks and months as to who makes it and who doesn't. And I think that with Bruno, he's going to be in that team. I always thought he would be behind the striker. I don't think Mount and Bruno behind the striker can work. I think they're too similar. I don't think they're players that are quick enough to take people on. I think behind there, you do need an Ahmad or a Garnacho or a Rashford, and then you need a Bruno or a Mount. I think you need that balance in the two. So if Mount can stay fit and do that well, roll well, I see Bruno playing deeper more, and I think that's maybe what Amorim's looking to do. The interesting thing is that the passing is fine, and there were some long passes, there were some short passes, but the thing that bothered me the most is the goal that we conceded. The first goal was because he didn't pick up the man. So I think with Bruno, if he's going to play in that position, what my thought is, and yours might be very different, is it's going to take a lot of work for him to do that. And I think if the biggest thing is that we're not going to play Bodo Glimt at home every week where we're going to have 70% possession. You're going to go to Anfield in January. You're going to the Emirates in a couple of weeks. You're going to, the Etihad in a couple of weeks. We're going to the Emirates next week. Nusa Meowsry, Andre Miana. This is brilliant. Kobe Main Meow. I'm getting bantered here. The cat. This is up there with Pineapple Man and being attacked by the geese. I tell you what, he's gone somewhere. And I don't know where he's gone because he's not outside and I can hear it. So I reckon he's gone under the floorboards, the fat twat. So that's me for the next hour. But yeah, I think with Bruno, you know what? This is what I mean about I told you so. I'm not going to sit here and go, Bruno's never going to work in a midfield pivot. I'm not going to do that because if Amorim thinks it's going to work, I'm going to trust it. I don't think Rashford's a striker, but if Amorim keeps doing it there, I'm going to see what he can do with it. I just think that with Bruno Fernandes, the defensive side of the thing worries me. If you're playing against Arsenal next week and we haven't got the possession, Bruno Fernandes playing in a pivot in front of the back four on the edge of his box worries me in relation to tackling, how many free kicks he might give up, how many midfield runners he might lose. That's what I mean. That's where I think the discipline is really important, and you could end up with Agate sort of being overrun, really. So I think that, look, Amorim's job at the moment is not to knock people down, it's to build people up. And I think that Bruno Fernandes is not a player that I've sort of moved past it as well. I don't disagree with the fact that there are occasions where you look at Bruno and you think he's not having a good game, he should be taken off. But I think the whole captaincy thing is so important, and I just think that we have seen games where Bruno hasn't played and we've struggled. So I think that Bruno is going to be a big part of the team, and we just have to hope that he's going to be good. Check the cupboard behind you, Mark. Daniel, if he's in the cupboard, he's going to be going on Britain's Got Talent, because he wasn't even in the room, and I would have to move that shelf to get in the cupboard behind me. So if he's got himself into there, he's going to be on Britain's Got Talent, and he's got no talent. In fact, the only talent he's got is eating. Yeah, I know people are going to get offended by me saying my cat's fat, but he has been to the vet and he is clinically obese because that's all he's interested in. And it's true. So, tough. Do you think Amorim has made his mind up already on a few players, Eriksen and Binder and Victor Lindelof? The goalkeeping situation, you're never going to get a chance. It's always going to be an Onana. It's very, very, very different. Lindelof, I think, has been injured. I'm sure he'll get chances. Eriksen, I think will get some game time. Casemiro will get some game time. Those players, for me, are gone in the summer anyway, because most of them are out of contract. And I don't see Binder staying for 3 years when he's not been given a chance. So, look, the real conversations are the Garnachos, the Rashfords, the Amads, the Delos, the Luke Shaws, the Martinez, the De Lits, the Maguires, the Yoros, the Agates, the Mainus, the Brunos, the Mounts, the Rasmus. These sort of players, to me, are still up for grabs. I think you could say, based on last night, that Rasmus will be the starting striker, but I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the truth yet. I still think that there might be a little bit of rotation there. I think that the three centre-back situation could change with Yoro coming back, and I still think Maguire will be given a chance. Can Luke Shaw stay fit as well? So I think that despite it being Mazraoui, De Ligt and Martinez at the moment, Luke Shaw, Yoro and Maguire could have something to say about that. I think the wide players is a massive problem, and I wish I'd mentioned it earlier. I think we've got lots of options at centre-back. I think the pivots, is a good idea in relation to numbers, especially if Bruno is going to be utilised there. I still think hopefully Collier can come back and start to show his worth under Amorim. Obviously, we've got a lot of options in the two behind the striker. But I think the two areas that we are weak in at the moment, numbers-wise, are the two areas that we keep getting linked to. We definitely do need another striker, and we definitely struggle down the left-hand side. Right-hand side, I think that's Delap's natural position, and Mazraoui can play there, and Ahmad can play there. So right-hand side could be improved, but it's not a short-term issue. Up front, if Rasmus stays fit, I think we're fine, but that's a lot of games, so we do need a striker. And down the left-hand side, I think we have a problem because Rashford can't do it. I don't know whether Garnacho really can do that defensive work. I think he'll have a go, but I'm not sure he can. Malacia obviously is coming back off 18 months, and if that's as quick as he can go, then that's not going to be quick enough for the Premier League. And then Delap in that position is hit and miss, and Luke Shaw's unreliable. So for me, the left-hand side wing position or wing-back position is a massive weakness. And obviously up front, we need another striker. They're the two things, and they're the two things we've been hearing all week. So I don't think it's rocket science that's where Man United need to focus, either in the January or summer transfer window as priority. Who we bring in on that left-hand side, look, we're linked to Alphonso Davies. He'd be absolutely bloody perfect. He's quick, he's young, he's experienced, he's talented. He can attack, he can defend. He'd be perfect. Is there a winger like that? Go for them. Is there a left back who's really attacking? Go for them. That's what we need to do. As a striker, we've spoken about those options. 57% of you wouldn't go with Liam Delap. I sort of agree with you on that. Chris Freeman says, I was happy just to have an entertaining game of football to watch for once. It wasn't perfect, but we moved forward, literally, says Chris. Yeah, and I think as well, Chris, three-man, I do agree with you. I think some people would have liked to see us won 6-0 last night. I don't think those sort of results help us. I said this before Amorim came in. I've seen the bounce. I've seen the new manager bounce, the glow up, whatever you want to call it, for 3 months, and then they can't sustain it. I actually wanted what we've had in the first two games. I wanted mistakes. I wanted us to scrap. I wanted us to drop points. I think we need to walk a different path, and I guarantee Ineos feel the same. Sir Jim Radcliffe will have seen what happened with Ollie. He'll have seen what happened with Ten Hag in his first season. I think they will quite like the fact that Amorim has got to learn on the job, that will give him time. I think they'll quite like the fact that he's got 6 weeks before the January transfer window, and then it's a short gap to the summer transfer window. I think they'll like the fact that he drew against Ipswich and saw a lot of the problems. I think he'll like the fact that they were winning, then they're 2-1 down, then they win 3-2 by a fine margin. I think if you're Sir Jim Radcliffe, you're liking that the same way we are, because hold on a minute, if everything was going well, so Ten Hag was the problem. So Mourinho was the problem. So Rangnick was the problem. So Ollie was the problem. And we know that's not the problem. We know the problem wasn't just changing a manager. We know the problem runs deeper than that. So I think seeing those realities is really important. And I was very happy with last night because it showed weaknesses and it showed positives as well. And it shows that we're a work in progress. And it's going to get tough. That the next 3 games are really challenging. I mean, I only realised it in the watch-along last night that we've got 3 games in 6 days. Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday. So that's a tough schedule. And I think that what we've got is Everton on Sunday, where we've got to win, and then Arsenal for me is a bonus game. We won't go there and treat it as a bonus game. We'll go there and try and win or get a draw. But the Arsenal game is playing one of the best teams in the Premier League over the last 3 years at their own ground, where they need to win. And that will be very, very difficult for us. But again, bring it on. I saw somebody on social media a couple of days ago saying it's such a shame that we've got to play Arsenal so soon into the Amorim era. And I was like, no, this is perfect. If it was his first game, you're never going to learn anything. But as his 4th game, you've had enough time on the training ground to sort of have a bit of an idea. You've hopefully had some results. Arsenal is perfect. No one's going to expect us to go and win there. It's perfect for him to go and see how far this team is off from there. Perfect. Would you take on Ferguson on loan, says Anthony? I would if it's the only option in January, but I don't think Brighton are going to let it happen. Mazraoui was perfect, says Dullet. I hate Suarez, says MMA Takedown. Cats take a while to acclimatise to new surroundings. You need to shave your head, place it in your lap, and become a Bond villain, says Rory C. Get that cat on TalkSport and let him yap, says Becca. It was said in Rangers match that Ineos had 6 managers for Nice since 2021, which could be worrying for United, says Matty Maguire. Cat Kno, welcome to Members Club. Should bring Voot back to United to mentor Rasmus, says Barinda. You're that close to being blocked. Would you accept the same level of success under Amorim as Arsenal have seen under Arteta, playing great football but not actually winning trophies, says Dan Thompson. Mate, I'm not going to sit here and demand trophies. I mean, I think winning 2 trophies in the last 2 years is actually pretty decent. Like, there's no guarantee of trophies, especially in the Man City era. I would take what Arsenal have done in the last 2 years every day of the week. 2 title races, good football. I mean, as a guaranteed step, I would definitely take that. I want to win titles, but I'd like to get to that position and moan. Cats are superstitious, says superstitious. I don't know what that means. Personally, I was happy to have done that one. Oh, it's messing about here. Perfect. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching. We have a press conference reaction. We have a preview today. We have the 8 o'clock show on a Friday night. I'm looking forward to a drink after the end of this week. And now I've got to go and avoid a catastrophe and find this cat. I will let you know what happened. Don't forget to check out the link in the video description or go to United Stand Shopify. We've got our Christmas jumper. It's not just our Christmas jumpers, all our hoodies, whether it's the Rasmus one, the Garnacho one, the Martinez one, the United treble one. Every bit of United Stand clothing and mugs are available with a 20% discount for Black Friday. So get over there while you can, while stocks last. Links in the description as well. 20% off. Get over there. Great Christmas presents, not just Christmas jumpers. We've got stuff for the year as well. Check it out. Thanks everyone for watching. Riley says meow. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.